All right. Hi, everybody. I hope everybody is doing wonderful. So, let's just take a minute or two to let some members in, and Michael will be joining us as well. So, that would be wonderful. I'm enabling the public chat in the meantime, and you people should be able to write in the chat box. So, if you're able to hear and see me, please go ahead and write yes in the chat box. If you can hear me all right, if you can see me all right. Good, thank you. So I received a private message. You can also chat in the public. So it's good that you people are able to hear me. And good, wonderful. So seems like you people are able to hear and see me all right.
Hey, Farouk, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, all right.
Good. So let us know before we get started. It's always good to know where you are joining us from and what do you do for a living. Let's say it's always good to know from which parts of the world people are joining us from. So that's always good. So let us know that inside the chat box. And in the meantime, we'll go ahead and get started. This is going to be an interesting session because it's not just me presenting or not just Michael presenting, but we are going to be interviewing someone whom I worked with one on one, and he has been obtaining some great successes, acing his interviews, moving forward with his speech in different scenarios. So it will be really, really good for you people to see him and to let him let you know how his life was before, what are some of the main things that he did, and how that changed his life, his speech, provided his speech right now. Right? So we'll be interviewing him, and not only we will be interviewing him, you people can always ask questions in the chat box. You can ask us different things. You can ask Ola, of course, Michael, myself, Ola. We would be getting to most of the questions and answers towards the end. We are going to try to save at least the last 20 minutes or so. Last 20 minutes or so for that. But if you have something to ask in the middle about what we are speaking about, and if we think that there is something that we need to mention right at the instant, we'll go ahead and do that. I'm not sure if Ola is already here. Ola, can you hear us? Or else he will just, yeah, he's here. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm here.
we can hear you. All right. So should we get started, Michael?
Yes, yeah, go ahead, man.
Mhm.
It's good to be here and good to have everyone here today. So you are in the driver's seat.
I will let Wusa in the driver's seat. Not Wusa, sorry, I just read the name Wusa. Ola, rather. All right. So, you people, you already know that the topic for this webinar is based on high stakes speaking situations. Like, we all encounter different high stake, precious speaking situations during different scenarios, meetings, work, presentations, interviews, all different kinds of scenarios. And we have heard many people talk about the fact that I can use my niche speaking style when I'm with myself. I can use it when I'm practicing by myself. I can even use it when I go out and speak in low pressure. But there is something that happens whenever I go into high pressure speaking situations. And we have heard so many people, so many clients talk about the fact, say this one sentence that Everything goes out of the window when it's high pressure. So we are going to discuss about what are some of the things that you need to focus on a consistent basis, and especially then during high pressure speaking situations, to make sure that things don't go out of the window. And we'll have Ola share his experiences about how he has been handling and dealing with those high pressure speaking situations. So, what happens during a high pressure speaking situation? How do people begin to respond? I want you people to respond in the chat box. If you can, let us know what happens usually to speaking when people are faced with a high pressure speaking situation. What starts to happen, and how do you start to usually speak? I can see some people chatting private, but it's good if you put it public. Any ideas? Like, I know you people know what happens, but if you can put that up here. Breathing becomes shallow, speech rate increases. I think, okay. My heart starts pounding, shimmy. All right. Yeah. So the heart rate increases. Ola said I start sweating. You should say I used to start sweating. And then, like people said, the breathing becomes shallow, the mind blocks, stuttering happens, you get tense, your jaws tighten, force words out without enough air. Very valid points. Very valid points. So, something that people miss in high pressure situations is the aspect of control. When they are by themselves, then they are in low pressure, they feel like they are in control and they can usually speak well. But during a high pressure speaking situation, something happens, they do something with their speech that makes them feel like they are out of control of their speech. And that's where the problem starts. They start to get stuck. They worry about it more. They get stuck more. They worry even more. They get stuck more. So it starts to become a loop as they go forward with their speech. So the aspect of control is something that is extremely, extremely important. What do you think we can do to develop this control over our speech in high pressure speaking situations? It's kind of the opposite of what you people just wrote inside the chat box. What is, let's say, one thing or one or two main things that you can do to put yourself back in control of your speech so that now your speech is not driving you, but you are driving your speech? What are the one or two things you think we can do for that? You have heard Michael and myself talk a lot about it. You will hear Ola talking about it. And moving forward, taking more pauses, slowing down, and extending our words. Really good. Really good. Yep. So, self talk, really good points. That sums it up, actually. And although you might say that that sounds very, very basic, we have heard Michael and Farouk and all different clients talk about slowing down and the aspect of control a lot. But the reason why we put this thing again and again in every session, in every webinar, is because we have seen the transformation it makes into people's speech. We have seen that 80% of the speech improvements, and that's huge, 80% of speech improvements often come just by the aspect of slowing down. And if you don't work on this and you try to do the rest of the things, blending, modeling, finishing, different kinds of things, it would be hard. So slowing down is the most basic, but one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, because that will give you the control over your speech, which you can then use to model and do everything else that you need to do in order to use your new speaking style. So the aspect of slowing down is extremely important. We are going to talk a little bit more about it, and we are going to jump into how to exactly slow your speech down, slow things down, and develop back that control over your speech. But before that, Michael, if you have anything to add, and we'll have Ola introduce himself and share his ideas about what I just mentioned and a bit about his speech prior to joining the Pro90d.
Yeah, well, I really just want to highlight and reinforce what you just said. In fact, I've created a whole program now around slowing down and even an affirmations program that's been really helpful. Slowing down, we found, has been, like you said, the number one thing that helps the most people the fastest to be able to utilize all the other things. So, and slowing down, it's not just about slowing your speech down, because some people actually don't speak super fast, but they feel rushed, they feel anxious. So when you learn to slow your speech down, like you said, Farouk, you feel more in control. Generally speaking, you'll feel more relaxed. And even if you don't feel relaxed, you still feel more in control. But often you'll feel more relaxed, and you'll be able to speak a lot more clearer and confidently. So trust us when we say that learning to slow your speech down, which is not easy, but it's absolutely doable. I mean, and you can do it within a certain number of weeks. It is critically important to your being able to do a lot of other things.
Thank you, Michael. All right, interesting. Ola, let's have you introduce yourself. I know some of the members already know you from the Speech Masters, some might not. So let's have you introduce yourself and share a bit about how exactly fast speaking hindered your progress pre Pro 90D.
Hi, thank you for. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Ola. I'm based in London. I work in tech as like a delivery manager. Prior to Pro90D, I used to speak fast. I didn't know I was speaking fast until I met Michael and Farouk. So I thought I was speaking normally, but I was speaking fast. And speaking fast was one of the first thing I tried to work on, trying to figure out how fast am I speaking now, and how can I reduce that pace to a reasonable amount. So I think that's something I worked on first, trying to slow down my pace. As they say, speed kills. So if you can drive slow, speak slow, you are less likely to make a mistake or just you can speak smoothly. So I think that's one thing that I've focused early on trying to record myself, seeing how I speak, measuring my pace, and from there trying to see how I can be slower. And as Farouk could probably mention, there are ways to try to help yourself speak slower. So I try to incorporate those tools and techniques in between my practice. Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you for the interesting points. All right, so let's dive a bit deep into exactly how you can slow your speech down. What are some of the things that you can do to slow your speech down? Because, like Ol has said, speed kills. Speed kills in driving. I think, Michael, you mentioned it in one of your audios, and speed kills in speaking. So it's like when you're driving and you're driving really fast, someone comes in front, you have little time to react. But if you're going slow, you can apply the brakes, go from the right side, left side, or do whatever you want to do. Same is the case with speaking. When there is a lot of anticipation, when there is a lot of worrying, you're already tense, you're already anxious, and if you're going fast, you would lose control over your speech, and that anxieties, anticipations, worrying about words would make your speech go worse. But if you can get that control over your speech by slowing down, which will tell how to, then you can start to manage these things in a very simple way, just like we gave the example of driving. So, the first thing that you need to know and that you need to consider is what Michael just mentioned. When we talk about slowing your speech down, it's not just slowing your speech down, but literally slowing everything down. So while you're speaking, slowing down your speech, slowing down your breathing, slowing down your hand gestures, slowing down your body movements. But first of all, important to breathe a lot, important to use your hands and do that slow. Try to do this right now or after the webinar. Try to use your hands slow and speak fast, or try to use your hands fast and speak slow. It will be really hard because these things go hand in hand. Even if you feel like it's hard for me to slow my speech down, you can do something that makes you slow down your speech. And it can be as simple as slowing down your hand gestures and hand movements, slowing down your breathing, making the breathing more deep, making the breathing more slow. What I mean by a slow breath is instead of breathing like, breathe like, make it slow. Make your hand gestures slow. And when you do these things slow, that in itself would help you to speak slow. So, this is the first thing that you need to consider. Because if you try to speak slow while doing other things fast, it might still not be easy for you at all, right? So, the first aspect is try to slow everything down. The second aspect of it, why many people are not able to do that, is because they are on one extreme. They are at a point where they speak extremely fast. And I know you said fast, Ola, that I used to speak fast, but I think it was really fast. So many people are on the extreme of being an extremely fast speaker. If they just focus on slowing down their speech, they might still lie towards the faster side. So, what you should do instead, especially if you're a really fast speaker, is to focus on the other extreme. What's the other extreme? Not even going slow, but trying to super slow your speech down. Because if you are on one extreme and you focus on the other extreme, you will at least lie somewhere in between. Because sometimes we have seen a lot of people, a lot of clients, they think they are slowing down their speech, but when Michael and myself we see them, we know that they are not. Because for them, speaking fast is not fast, but it has become so normal that even something slower sounds a lot slower. So it's really important to focus on super slowing your speech down, super slowing everything down. And when we say super slowing your speech down, there are two main things, more actually, but we are going to talk about two main things right here that you can do to super slow your speech down. The first is extending out a lot of your words. Many people who speak fast, if not all, they have a habit of not extending out their words at all. You have seen a lot of videos, audios on extending words and stuff like that. So if I'm speaking like this, I'm not extending my words. But if I start to speak like this, I'm actually extending my words. And if you notice, myself and Michael and Ola, we have been doing it from the start of the webinar. Probably not consciously, because it has become a habit now, but extending out your words is stretching, elongating your words. When you do that, even if you want, you can't speak fast because you cannot speak fast while extending your words like this. So, extending your words would help you slow your speech down And if you notice, it also creates an impact that we are going to talk about later. When you're extending your words out, it's like emphasizing, it's like highlighting a word, right? So it creates an impact as well. If you are at a point where you speak extremely fast, I would recommend trying to extend every single word out, because I know that you won't. Even when you focus on extending every word out, you'll not. So it's better to focus on that so that you at least extend most of your words. Sit by yourself, practice extending by yourself, then go out and practice in speaking situations. Breathing, using your hands, doing that slow and extending your words out is really, really important. Second thing, after that, I'm going to jump to Michael and Ola once again, is something that we call articulating, using your mouth more while you are speaking. If you notice that even when you use your mouth more while you're speaking, when you're articulating more, even then it becomes really hard to speak fast. So you're basically doing things that are triggering your slow speech, that are triggering to slow down the pace of your speech. So articulating more, using your mouth more. If you notice for yourself and for most of the people out there who speak really fast, they have a habit of not extending their words at all, or extending really less, or not articulating at all, or articulating very less. When we talk about articulating, obviously we don't mean over articulating every word like this, but using your mouth a bit more when you're used to. Focusing consciously on the articulation. And there is a scientific background to it that I was discussing with Michael a few weeks ago, but we'll discuss it in another webinar probably. So these two things are really, really important. So, Michael, do you have something to add on what I just mentioned?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was going to mention articulation, but I thought that you'd probably get to it already. Um, I've been observing professional speakers and certain people on TV, because there's a lot of people that you and I'll see on TV, broadcasters, experts that just don't speak well. They use a lot of filler words. They're just terrible speakers, really. But you'll also see a lot, and you'll see them open and use their mouth, especially actors. Actors, you'll see them opening and using their mouth. Technically, we call this enunciating, but a lot of people also use the term articulating. So we include enunciation under the term articulating. So when we say articulating, we're talking about opening, using your jaws, your teeth, your tongue, your entire mouth, using it more, opening it more. And when you do that, if you just think about it, what a lot of people do is you'll watch them, because I mean, Farouk and I have seen it. They don't open their mouth much, which limits the amount of sound that can come out, right? Because there's a smaller hole, right? So they don't open their mouth much. And then they often cut the words off. They cut their words off. So when you open your mouth, you're able to project more sound to a greater distance. And when you do something else that I think you're probably going to talk about, if maybe like finishing your words, when you do that, then it makes your speech clearer. Here's the important thing. We all have accents. Like I have an accent to Farouk and Ola, just like he has an accent to me. So when we're dealing with an international global market, we have to articulate more because we probably have an accent. And so you don't have to lose your accent, but when you articulate more, you make whatever you're saying sound clearer. So articulation is very good for clarity, but it's also good for slowing your speech down, like you just said.
Thank you, Michael. Really, really good point. Now, just before I come to Ola, really important right here is self-talk. You can only get yourself to do these things once you're constantly in your mind, consciously reminding yourself to slow everything down, to breathe more deeply, breathe slowly, use your hands, extend out your words. As I said, super slowing your speech down. And you don't just have to remind yourself once, because the moment you get started using your new speaking style, within a minute, within a few seconds, your mind would switch yourself back to the old speaking style. So it's like a child. You try to do something, you try to make it sit, then it goes away. Then you make it sit again, then it goes away. Then you make it sit again. So you would have to constantly make your mind sit onto this new speaking style. And it does not want to, because it has become comfortable with that uncomfort of getting stuck because it's easy. For the new speaking style, it requires energy. So that conscious focus has to be in there. And if it does not work out the first few times, don't worry. That's a part of the process. It will start to pull you back. Every time you do that, your mind would keep pulling you back until you make it a habit of constantly focusing on it, and you do it over and over again, and your mind ultimately says, he or she is not going to listen, so let me listen and let me accept what they are saying, right? But for that, conscious effort is extremely important. Ola, so please share with us how this self-talk helped you extend and or articulate during interviews, during different situations. We are going to come to interviews a bit later. How these things helped you out to slow your speech down, and what sort of an improvement you saw in your speech once you did these things.
Okay. How did these self-talk help me out in slowing my speech down? I think for me, I had multiple self-talk affirmations, and I used to say them in the morning and even before my interviews or anything I want to go for speaking wise. But I think what helped me was to meditate, because I found out that when I'm speaking, I easily get distracted. So being able to meditate has trained myself to be able to focus on my self-talk more. So I think I've trained myself to, if I'm speaking, I want to be present, as you always say, try to shut down what could happen negatively and just try and look at, okay, I'm going to try to speak slow, trying to breathe, etc. And I kind of coined my own new term. I told Frank about this: best, breathe, extend, super slow. I put it beside my laptop every day.
Rest.
I just put it there because I forget anytime. It's just there, stuck on my laptop or my TV. So I see it almost every time. So I think having been able to meditate every morning, having where I can see posters regarding my self-talk, can help me just remember it more easily. So that's the way I've been able to apply it. And I've seen changes in my speech. Sometimes I might speak fast initially, but my sticker is right there. I can see, okay, this is not what I'm meant to be doing. And I try and take a pause and slow down. Yeah, that's the way I've been able to apply self-talk to actual speaking situations.
Thank you, man.
What did the breast stand for? The breathe.
The It's best. Breathe,
That's. I thought you said
extend.
breast.
I know.
That'd be easy to remember.
No, best. Breathe, extend, super slow. Those are my three focuses when I work with Farouk.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ruth, can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. You mentioned something, Ola, that's I mean, this is all important, but something else that's very important is learning to be present and not get distracted while you're speaking. That's huge, especially when you're under pressure. People get distracted by all kinds of different things: who's in the room, the authority, their expectations, all kinds of stuff, negative anticipations, just get distracted. So learning how to calm your thoughts and be present while you're speaking. And I know that this is one thing that you learned both from working with Farouk privately, but we also saw you learning it in the Virtual Speech Masters Club. Because when you just answered that question, you paused and you repeated the question, which is exactly what we do in Virtual Speech Masters, right? So learning to be present, slow everything down, take control, and learn how to pause more and articulate more. These are all important things for slowing down and for the successes that you've been experiencing as a direct result of slowing down and all the things that you've learned from Farouk and our Virtual Speech Masters Club. So very good. I mean, I can see it when you answered that question today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Olap. So we have heard many people speak about the fact that slowing down their speech, especially when they get started working with their speech, they feel like it's weird. They feel like it's uncomfortable. And that is where we remind them of the fact that if it's not weird, if it's not uncomfortable, it means that you're probably not slowing down. It means that you're probably not doing the right thing. It does not feel weird because speaking slow is weird. It feels weird because you're not used to it. Whatever new thing you start to do, you start a new job, you move to another country, at the start, it's always weird. But once you start to get used to it, once the people see the impact that has on your speech, you would start to enjoy that. Now, we are at a point, Michael, of course, and myself, and Ola as well now, that if we want, we can speak fast. Like I can be having this webinar like this and speaking really fast, and I won't get stuck and I speak really. But that does not sound good. So slowing down is not just helping you not get stuck. It's not like not getting stuck is not a part of the system at all. It's there to make you smooth and confident speaker, of course. So it's not just helping you to smooth out your speech, but it's helping you to become a speaker. Just like Michael talked about, if actors are doing that, if some of the most influential people are doing that, they articulate a lot, they extend their words out a lot. Just like I said, it's like emphasizing your words. You sound a lot more impactful when you do that. So it would help you out in both ways. So remember, if it feels weird, if it feels uncomfortable, just know that you're doing the right thing and know that it's just short term until you get more and more used to it. So that is something which is really important. Some people also mention that if we slow down our speech, speaking will take longer. Whatever we have to say, it will take longer. But actually, we have found the opposite. So there's a saying in the army that Michael has stated in previous webinars and sessions as well, that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So usually when people are fast, they are all over the place. So they are saying something and then they realize I have to say something else and then they jump onto it. And because of all of this, it takes longer for them to say what they exactly have to say because they never get on the point that they have to say. They always keep switching, running between things because they're speaking fast. Once again, they are out of control. They don't have that aspect of control that we talked about at the start of the session. So when you're going slow, you'll be more structured. We'll talk about structure a bit more moving forward. So when you're slow, you're more structured. And when you're structured, you'll mostly finish off saying what you have to say faster. So by going slow, you'll be fast. By going super slow, you'll be super fast. So just keep that thing in your mind. So it's often our mind like putting forward those excuses. It's weird. It's uncomfortable. It will take longer. So let me not do that. Rest of the people speak fast. So I should also speak fast. Some people, they do speak fast. But if you are feeling like that you have to speak like them, why not to have your own personality where not necessarily have the other people speak like you, but If they have their own speaking styles, you can have your own speaking style. And once again, it's not something that you have to do for the rest of your life if you don't want to. As you move forward with your speech, you get to a point where you can start becoming more dynamic with your speech, with some things you can say slow like this, and some things you can say them a bit faster like this. So this adds variety into your speech. But this happens once you develop and gain that control over your speech. And in the process, in order to reach there, it's extremely important to make sure to super slow things down. Super slow your speech down. All right. So
Hey,
I
Farouk.
know, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in real quick. You mentioned something that alluded to this a little earlier, but I want to zoom in on it and mention it again. And if you want to mention it again, you can. But for some people, especially probably for everyone, when you first get started trying to slow your speech down, you'll experience a lot of resistance, of course, which is normal, should feel uncomfortable. And so sometimes what we say is that you may, excuse me, need to focus 80% or more of your attention on slowing your speech down through self-talk and whatever technique helps you the most. So what that means, excuse me, is that most of your attention while you're speaking needs to be on slowing down. Now you may think, well, I can't do that and think about the content, but you can, because we've had people do it. So you have to trust that for a temporary period of time, I will have to devote a lot of conscious attention to slowing my speech down, because I have to overcome the resistance, right? I have to create that new habit. Because if you don't, you will immediately, and if not immediately, very quickly revert back to your older speaking style. Especially in higher pressure speaking situations, you'll immediately revert back. Why? Well, what Ola said earlier, you'll be distracted by the content or by whatever. So you have to, and this is why it's important to practice in no to low pressure speaking situations. You got to devote most of your attention initially to slowing down, or you won't create the new habit.
Excellent point, Michael. Thank you for that. And someone mentioned inside the chat box a little bit earlier that their heart starts to race, their breathing gets pretty shallow. So you also have to realize that sometimes we make a mistake by realizing or by just thinking about the fact that our heart racing fast, our mind saying that we will get stuck, we will not be able to do that, that means that I will get stuck. That means that I will have a hard time. And some people try to get rid of that anxious feeling that my heart should not race. My breathing should not become a bit shallow, especially when I'm going into it. But that is kind of a very natural response. Even when I'm going to present in front of a very large crowd, I will have that as well. And I know Michael and O and the other people will have that as well. Some of the best speakers out there in the world will have that as well. So it's not about trying to get rid of that feeling, but realizing that that feeling is actually there to help you out. We often talk about the fact about reframing that anxiety into excitement and then using that excitement as an energy to use your hands, to emphasize more words, to extend your words out, to use facial expressions. If it was not there at all, people would be standing in presentations and speaking like this with people. So it's very natural. It's there to help you out. So don't try to get rid of that, because often people think that whenever it's high pressure, I should not feel anxious, rather excited, I would say. And then use that excitement to do the things that we have been discussing in this session so far. Excitement is that energy that you can use to do things. You can use it to breathe more deeply, slowly, emphasize, extend your words out, and literally do all of the things that we have been speaking about so far. Really, really important. So, Ola, let's jump back onto you. So, for those who don't know, I worked with Ola one on one, and he has also been a part of the Virtual Speech Masters. And we still have like 4 or 5 meetings left. We are still halfway through our meetings, and he has already been doing a pretty good job with everything. So, Ola, let's jump onto you and let's talk about how, after the Pro 90D, after the one on one coaching, after the speech masters, these things helped you out in high pressure speaking situations. I know you were really going out there and applying for a lot of interviews when you first reached out to me to work one on one with me. Your major focus was interviews, that I have to crack interviews. It's not happening. I'm speaking fast. I'm getting stuck. I'm not getting jobs. So, what exactly did you learn from the coaching, the speech masters, and how it helped you out in those high pressure speaking situations? And you can take your time to answer the question.
All right. Thank you for that question. So I think I mentioned about 2 or 3 things that I can think of now that I learned. The first thing I learned, like I said, was to slow down and take control of my speech. I remember, I think one of our first sessions, he said I should always start super slow. I should buy time to start super slow. So repeating the question, having some words in the between in the beginning to just rev my vocal cords before I go into the answer would help me just start on a good foot. So having a super slow start always helps me. That's number one. Number two thing I learned was no, because I applied to multiple jobs, I did multiple interviews. I kind of learned not to be too attached to the interviews. So I feel like, even if that doesn't come on, even if that doesn't come to, what's the word? Even if I don't get the job from the interview, another one will come up again. So I think that made it less pressure for me. And you always see it as a way of practice for the next one. So even though I do one, I to figure out where I did well there, then try and apply that to the upcoming one. So I didn't. Well, most of the interviews I did after our sessions, I just prep normally. Sometimes I play some games before the interviews. In fact, just take my mind off it and just go and see how it goes. So I don't take it to heart. That being said, I obviously always prep the questions and answers before each interview. I have a call with you a day before to just prep again. So I did lots of work regarding the prep, but I didn't think about the interview too much. I think finally, what else did I think was from the Pro 90D meetings that I used to practice. I think one of the meetings we were told to read a book on how to handle pressure or something. I read the entire. Okay, I didn't read the entire book. I played the entire audio book back to back. I was able to learn techniques about breathing, about trying to meditate, using your hands, practicing under pressure, in low pressure, just things that we practice in the Pro 90D. But from a book again, seeing it from there, I took that and I went further with those practices. So in summary, just slowing down at the beginning, my speech, not taking interviews too much or too don't put too much weight on the interviews, and trying to read more about handling myself under pressure are things that I've learned for my interview from the Pro 90D.
Mhm. Thank you, Ola. So we'll have you share a bit more about these things. So now I think I'll be able to go in, Michael, and find some of his videos at the start of when we got started working and when he joined the Speech Masters, so that people, if you are fine with it, of course, Ola, so that the people can see how much, because the way that you're speaking right now,
Mhm.
each and every word is really, really clear. And that is what we had been demanding from you from the start. When we got started working, that was the main thing. Like Michael talked about, we all have an accent, and especially when you speak fast and you have an accent, so it can become hard for the other people to hear you out. And I think we were having our last meeting last week or something, and I often have the people that I work with do the modeling and stuff, and afterwards ask them how much they were feeling like Michael. So he was like, I'm feeling 90% like Michael now. So that was the most that I heard from someone in the last few times. And that is because you have been working a lot on the slowing down thing. And that is something that we want all the people to hear. Blending, modeling, everything becomes easy once you have that control over your speech. So once you can slow down your speech, you now have the control over your speech to do more things. And slowing down your speech can trigger your modeling style on its own. So often focusing on the modeling just means doing something that triggers your modeling style, that makes you feel like your model, that makes you feel like Michael. So once you start to slow your speech down, you start to get yourself into that zone, and that's really, really important. So about his interviews, we'll have Ola share a bit about how he got the job after, I think we were like 4 or 5 meetings in. And one other thing that I will share right here, although we'll not go a lot deeply in detail into interviews, there's a lot that we can talk about in terms of interviews, but especially something that I want to mention that is relevant for interviews as well as presentations and normal conversations is a structure in your speech. Structuring your speech is really, really important, especially when you're presenting, especially when you're going forward to go with interviews and stuff. But generally as well, even within a conversation, the more slower you are, or the slower you are and the more structured you are, the better your speech gets. How you can become more structured? By adding some numbers to your speech. So someone asks you something, there are 3 points that I have on this. First is this, second is this, and the third is this. Or I have a couple of points that I want to say on this. That really helps, especially during an interview, especially during a presentation, even in a one on one conversation. You might not articulate that, but if you start to have that in your mind at least, you would stay on track because you would know, all right, I'm talking about the first thing, done. Second thing, done. Third thing, done. And you're going really slow. So it would help to structure your speech a lot better. And just a point that Michael mentioned a few minutes ago about how some people feel like if I slow my speech down, I can't focus on the content. It's actually the other way around. The more you slow your speech down, the better you'll be able to focus on the content because you're giving yourself more time. As opposed to when you're going really fast, you don't know what to do, obviously you cannot focus on the content. So when you slow your speech down, you can focus on the content better and structure the content better. And remember, focusing on the content does not mean focusing on every single word that you have to say. That's not focusing on the content. That's anticipating every word. Focusing on the content simply means, all right, I have to say this. There are 3 points that I have to say on this, or there are 2 points, or there is a single thing that I have to mention or say on this, right? So once you put your focus on that, all right, that's the structure, and you slow your speech down, these two things can start to make an incredible improvement in your speech. Ola used these things a lot during his interviews, and he got the job as well. He will talk a little bit about it. So oftentimes when even now I ask him in meetings, and I even saw him doing this inside the webinar right now, that when I mentioned some things, he said that there are 2 things that I have to say on this, 3 things, and then he went over them. So it starts to become quite natural and it becomes quite easier. So before we jump on to Ola, Michael, do you have something to add on this?
You're muted.
Thank you. No, not that much. Just that, just this one thing, learning to slow your speech down. can make a huge difference between getting a job or not, believe it or not. And so, I know that you guys are going to talk a little bit more about this, but this is something you really want to focus on. And again, we have a whole program, as well as in our coaching, where we can help you slow your speech down. And that can be the one thing that helps you get that promotion, get the sale, get the job. So I just wanted to reinforce just how important it is, and that there's lots of different ways to slow your speech down. So people may have told you this, you may know it. It's not just telling yourself, okay, slow your speech down. That's why we have a process and system to help you do it. But once you do it, it's like magic. It's like magic.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, Michael. Thank you.
I think there's a question in the Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
How do I get rid of drifting my thoughts? Should I focus wholly on slowing down, use triggers, or triggers slow down the speech?
Yeah. So I would say it's like sort of the same thing. And I'm a big fan of triggering stuff, like I talked about triggering modeling. So just like slowing down can trigger modeling, you can do some things to trigger slowing down your speech. Like I said, slowing other things down, like your hand movements, would help trigger slow speech. If you find it hard to just say that, slow down your speech, and you slow down. If that happens, that's good, but we have not seen it happening for most of the people. So using your hands slow, or extending out your words, extending everything out, articulating a lot, super slowing down everything. Pick one or two of these things and let it trigger you to slow down your speech if you're finding it hard to just remind yourself to slow down, and you do that. So it has to be somewhat of a combination of everything. You remind yourself to super slow your speech down, and you do the things that slow your speech down. Because if you're reminding yourself to slow down your speech, and if you're not extending and articulating, it means that probably you're speaking fast. So do those things and trigger your new speaking style. Really good. So we want you people to start to ask your questions inside the chat box, and once Ola is answering, and then we'll go forward and take more questions from you people. You can ask us whatever you want. You can ask Ola whatever you want. Ola has been inside the process. Ola has been inside the coaching, inside the virtual speech master. So there's no one who can tell that better than him. So Ola, tell a bit about how helpful the one-on-one coaching was for you, and then share a bit about how the system as a whole helped you to do a pretty good job in an interview, and you got the offer from it. And I know you're still applying, you're still looking for better opportunities, but that's something that we can obviously keep doing. And how did this help you out financially? Because often people investing in something, they feel like, oh, I have to give something out. But and the rest of the people know who have worked with us, with the speech masters, with the one-on-one coaching, that it's a lot more that you get. Because once you can speak smoothly, it becomes really, really easy to get jobs and do whatever you want. I was just sharing with Michael, I was there last week, where I had to do a presentation for a research work related to neuroscience. And I had to present that work, and there were some PhDs and postdocs who had done some extensive amount of work. My work was nothing in front of them. But I still won the first prize for the presentation because I could speak in a way that was easy for people to listen. I could structure it better. So if you speak well, your work goes to the next level, whatever it is. So Ola, share a bit about how it helped you get the job that you were looking for. And yeah.
Okay. I think I'll just answer out to John's question about drifting your thoughts before I answer your question, Farouk, if that is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think extending and using your hands are two ways. But you can practice those two things by recording yourself, number one, or trying to create a way you can get distracted. For example, me playing the music beside you and trying to speak super slow. When you do that over and over again, you are able to focus your mind on something for a while. So I think for me, taking those things into actual practice over and over again is a way to do it. So I think once you're extending, you can extend once, twice on a phone call. But if you don't do it over and over again, almost daily, you probably forget about extending or using your hands. So create different scenarios where you can extend, either it's on your own, with friends, or anything around you. Just try and create a way you can speak slow. You get used to knowing how to take things away from your mind and being present. That's one way that I did it. I used to do it continuously. And now to the question on, well, the financial gain of the coaching and the Pro90d. Let's say financial. I think let me just think of a rough number of, okay, how much money did I earn from switching my job? I think about 5 to 10,000 pounds extra on my previous job to what I have now. And yes, I think the financial gain, let's say I invested about X amount of pounds on the speech coach slash the Toastmasters. That is about 10x my investment if I'm doing the rough math. So I think that is maybe a raw financial analysis on the return on investment on my speech. And I think everybody knows that speaking is the major thing for jobs, even when you're working with people, collaboration, you need to know how to speak. So I think it's a no-brainer for you not wanting to invest in your speech. So I think telling you why it is important is almost like, because we all know it's important to speak and speak well. So I think giving you the financial gain might be of better use if you're thinking about getting the program or getting a coach one-on-one. So I think that is my answer. Did I answer it properly, or should I say something else more? Okay, good.
Thank you. So, yeah, Michael.
If there's a question that also pertains to this that I'll just post up here from Ola, not for Ola, from Lusa. And so you guys can answer that too, because it's relevant too. Yeah.
Did I make more progress in speech on one-on-one coaching sessions? So yeah, I joined the Pro90d in January, I think, yes. And I was there for about 3 months. And yeah, I made some progress in breathing, etc. But I think in April was when I signed up, or May, I signed up for Farouk. And the first 1 month was like intense. We did like every week, and every single day I sent him updates. So I think it was in May, June that I applied a lot to jobs. I did multiple mocks interviews, and I got a job in July. So I think the Farouk holding me accountable and giving me tailored, like for example, like now the way I did the what's it called, the free flow speaking style was not the right way. I did it wrongly. I thought I was doing it right, but I think he showed me how to do it and why I should do it. And I had to record myself every day so I could send it to him, and he would tell me what I'm doing wrong on the free flow speaking style. So maybe I'm not linking my words properly, or I could go slower, or I could extend more. And I also kind of modeled about 3 or 4 of Michael clips within May and July. So I kind of got used to the techniques, his mouth movements, his hand movements. So I think between January and April, I did about a minute or so of one clip. But between May and July, I did about 2 different clips. So I kind of did modeling more intensely within those 2 months. So I think I did the same Pro90d content, but it was more okay. Focus on modeling, focus on free flow. So I kind of, because it's kind of like a wide system, to be fair. If without someone to guide you where to start, you probably start from everywhere. But I was able to see, okay, well, I'll start from this content first, then move to this content next. That way I was able to get results much faster. That's the way I see how Farouk came in.
Good. So let me just jump in and just share three, sometimes we say four, but three primary ways working one-on-one helps you. One, Ola said, holds you accountable. When we're working by ourselves, this is all of us. We're usually not as accountable for as long as we need to be, doing everything that we need to do. We'll pick and choose stuff. We'll pick and choose the easiest stuff, or we'll start something and then we'll stop. So accountability, while Farouk and I can't make you do something, when you've paid your money and you invested and you're meeting with us, you're more likely to stay accountable, doing all the things that we know you need to do to transform your speech and your mindset and all of that. So accountability is huge. The second one is feedback, evaluation and feedback. So we're able to customize, which is just what Ola said. We can go through the program and say, focus on this first. Now focus on this. Oh, tweak this, do more of this or do less of that. And it would be almost impossible for you to do that just because we have the experience of not only doing it ourselves, but seeing hundreds, if not thousands of people do it. So it's like we all have blind spots and we can't see what we can't see, but Farouk and I can see it. So we give you that feedback and we customize it, which I've found can save you I've found, just based on rough calculations, you can get to a certain point 10 times faster than when you're working on your own. I've seen people work for years or a year, and they've made improvements, but they work with us, and in 2 to 3 months, just like Ola said, 2 to 3 months, they've gone well beyond what they would have working on their own. And then the third thing is encouragement. You're going to go through dips, and a lot of people are then going to slow down or give up or start looking for something else. Oh, well, this isn't working, or it was working, now stop. Let me go check this program. Let me go check that. We keep you encouraged and we keep you kind of motivated, if you will, to keep going. So those are three reasons why you'd want to coach and why it's a good investment. We're not just saying that to make money. We're saying that because it actually works, right? And you get an ROI. You actually get a return, especially if you get an upgrade in your job, or you get a new job, or you make sales. You get that money back very, very quickly.
Absolutely, Michael. Absolutely. All right. Thank you very much for this. And the thing that Ola did to make my work a lot easier that I really liked about him, and that's why I say he is one of my best clients. We'll also be doing another webinar with another client next week. But he was really proactive. He always wanted to go out and utilize whatever he had been learning. So he was not just doing the one-on-one coaching, but then participating in the virtual speech masters and using the things right there. He was constantly going out there and giving more interviews. I really loved how he said right here that even if I don't get the job, it will at least be a practice for the next interview. And that is what we used to discuss in our meetings as well. So once you keep going out there, keep presenting, keep interviewing, and keep using whatever you have been learning, that's where you start to see the real progress in your speech. It's just like learning a language. You can keep learning a language at your home. If you don't go out and if you don't speak enough, it's probably not going to help you get there. So it's about using it by yourself, then using it with people. Low pressure, then when you become comfortable, medium pressure, and then you slowly graduate up to high pressure. Just like I said, then people, when they say that it goes out of the window in high pressure, It's because they have not been doing it in low pressure. So if you don't do it with friends and family and you feel like I can speak with them the way that I want, but it's just when the stakes are high, I'm in an interview, I want to get the job, now let's do it. It won't happen because you have not been doing it every single time. So remember, every time you open your mouth to speak, it's a practice opportunity for you. And if you are interested in the one on one coaching, if you're interested in the virtual speech masters, I think Michael has pasted the links up there in the chat. I'll just paste them once again if necessary. So just check those out. And yeah, like Ola said, it can be a huge investment on your speech. Not a huge investment, but a huge return on your investment, rather. Like he said, we're still just like halfway through, and he's already making a lot more than he invested. But not just you make a lot more, but I loved how Michael explained it in one of his videos, and that's exactly what happens. It feels like a big, black, heavy blanket is lifted off of your shoulders. You're no longer worried to go out and speak. You're no longer worried to, oh, I hope I don't get stuck. So let me not do this. Let me not take this job because I think that I will struggle with my speech. Let me not give that presentation because it all becomes a lot easier. So you feel mentally relaxed. You enjoy speaking. All right. So yeah, that's all I have to say, Michael. Yeah.
I was just gonna say one of the words that's one of my highest values is freedom. A lot, you just feel freer, and that's what takes that weight off. And I'm sure that you felt that. I mean, you just feel freer to go out and take more advantage of social situations, go out and talk to people. I've had people say that they've had better conversations with their father and their mother and their grandparents now, right? Imagine that their whole life, and now they're able to do that. Just go out and be more social. You feel better personally. Your self-esteem goes up, your self-confidence goes up. We've had plenty of people say, as I'm going through this process, it has impacted my entire life, not just my speech. So your self-worth goes up, your self-esteem goes, and you may already have high self-esteem, but anyway, it impacts everything. And then the other thing that it does is it can and usually does help you professionally. And it's the investment or the gift that keeps giving. So imagine you get that first job and you start growing in, well, not the first job, but let's say you get that first job after your speech improves. And then you start learning and growing more, which positions you to get a better job, right? And so it's not just the first job that you get the ROI, it's all the jobs and all the experiences that you get as a result of getting that first one. So it's the investment that just keeps compounding and giving back. So this affects you in every area of your life. But for some people, money is not the most important thing. It gives you freedom. And for those of you who this interests you, it gives you the freedom to serve more, to make a greater impact on the lives of other people. Whereas before you might have been holding back and, well, I can't do that. I'm not able to do this. Now you're like, wow, I can go out and actually serve people. That's extremely powerful.
Thank you, Michael. Absolutely. So, before we wrap up, any other questions or comments for us for Ola? We are going to be doing more things with Ola, especially as we finish off with the coaching. We'll probably have him again. I interviewed him where he explained things, so we'll also make sure to put forward that interview. And about the one-on-one coaching, we are having 200 USD off on my coaching for some time, for like 2-3 weeks, and then it's going to go back up to the original prices. So if you're ready, take advantage of it. And yep, we'll keep doing these webinars. We'll try to have one. In fact, we have one next Wednesday as well with another client of mine, Haley. And then we'll try to do more with especially the people who are inside the speech masters, inside the coaching. so that you people can come and see how it's impacting their lives. So, any further questions or comments for us? And Ola, if you have anything else that you want to say before we wrap it up.
Uh, Nothing much. Yeah, everything has been said. Investing in your speech is one of the most important things you can ever do. It helps you in many ways in interviews, on your job, for example. You're able to speak on the spot. You're not worried about being called to present to your team members or strangers. You're able to go out more. You're able to pick calls confidently and not worried about, let me get to impress if I'm pick a call when I'm comfortable. I can pick a call now anytime and I'll be able to speak and see what I want to see on the call. You're able to go out for events, hang out with your friends more. You just become more social, and it's very useful. So yeah, definitely worth trying it out.
Thank you. So, if no more questions for us, in fact, if you have them after the webinar, you can reach us out, of course, and you can also, the link that Michael has shared, you can also book a free assessment session with me where we can talk about your speech and see if coaching is a good fit for you. And yeah, you can make sure to reach us out on our emails, michael@pro90d.com, farooq@pro90d.com. And yeah, you can reach out Ola as well. And Ola is right there in the Slack group. Ola is right there in the Virtual Speech Masters group. So you can reach him out there as well if you have any additional questions or comments. Do you have something to add, Michael, before we wrap it up?
No. I just want to thank Ola for the courage to kind of show up and share with us. It's always very inspiring when we have coaching clients, either current or previous ones, to come so people can really see. And sometimes it's hard for people. I had a client tell me this just like 2 days ago. It's hard for me to envision myself speaking well. So sometimes when they look at us, they don't know where we came from. Because he said, "Did you stutter as bad as I did?" I was like, "I used to bite my tongue. I would make faces." And I said, in Spanish, I might not bite my tongue, but sometimes I still can't say what I want. So I know what it feels like. Spanish is a second language for me. So what I'm saying is that some of you may be out there, and it doesn't matter whether you stutter or not. Maybe you just speak too fast, but it might be hard for you to envision seeing yourself making that transformation. But trust us, if you see where we've come from, you'll know that it's possible. And that's why it's important for our clients to come and to share with you, because they know from recently how it was for them, and they can tell you where they are now. So thank you all for showing up. Thank you again, Ola, and thank you, Farooq.
Thank you.
Yeah, for having me.
Thank you, Ola. And we'll have you more. And your speech was really phenomenal, like always during the session. And I know you have inspired a lot of people already. So great job.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, then. We'll see everybody.